Hello?
Hello.
Hey, Zach.
Hey,
Thanks for
what's
agreeing
up?
to do the interview.
Hey, cool. Appreciate it. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
All right, been a good day and everything over there?
Well, it's cold, and they're having a problem. It's the power grid. People are using too much heat and energy against the power grid here. The power grid is not built for 5 degrees in South Carolina.
Oh, yeah.
It's normally about 40 degrees this time of year. So when you get down to 5, then we have issues with everything.
Yeah, wow, I can imagine. So, yeah, it's pretty decent up here. It's around like 45 degrees, yeah, like that. So, but yeah, I know 5-degree weather stuff, man, that can get intense. But yeah, so I guess to get started with the questionnaire of sorts. I know, of course, Circle to Circle fairly recently finished recording a new album. So, can you tell me a little bit about how that went and what we can maybe expect from the style of it?
Well, yeah, we got that turned in right at the end of January, and it looks like the delay on the release, they're probably going to, I don't know exactly when it's going to be released. We've had some discussions about it. Maybe pushed back a little bit to kind of coincide with the things that are happening with Savatage and Vocalist Reunion and, things like that, which would, kind of make sense, but don't really know exactly release. I know it'll probably go back further than the usual 3 months than the time we turned it in. I can tell you that. But maybe to get a little bit more into the summertime. But yeah, we're really excited about it. It's real dark and very heavy, fast. Some stuff a little bit more fast paced here or there. Music style. It kind of varies a lot. Even within the song, you may have, going from part to part is just a lot of variation kind of compared to what we used to do or what we've, have been doing lately on the last couple of records. So pretty aggressive. It's a pretty emotional record, I would say. I would use that word. The lyrical content has a lot of, a little bit more, deeper, type meaning on some of the stuff, which I think is good. It kind of leads you on a little bit more of a journey, a little bit more of an emotional, journey on the record. But yeah, I think everybody's going to like it. It's just like a, the way we really want to do the record. We got to start kind of like we all started on the same page. We knew where we were going to record everything, so it was a little bit different. In the past, we might have had to record things in different places and kind of, put things together. And we could bring it together, but not as good as on this one because we had everything kind of planned out from step one. So we really had the idea to come in here and to try to make the best record of our career with this new one. So I think everybody's going to be pleasantly surprised about it. We've got some new management for the band. They've taken a listen, the label. There's a few people who have heard it, so everybody's very excited, but they have to keep it under the lock and key a little bit longer than we thought, a little bit longer than normal, maybe like 2 months longer. But yeah, but it's all for the right reasons, and to really kind of tie everything together to what we're all kind of involved in this summer. So I think everybody's going to really like it.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. Would you say, songwriting-wise for this one, is it a pretty unified process, everybody getting a little bit here and there kind of a thing?
Yes. Yeah, even a lot more so than the past albums. Me and Mitch Stewart, our bassist, a long-time bassist for, I'd say, over 9 years now, me and him have really teamed up on a lot of songs, and we've had a few guests, writer, our friends, come in and write with us from time to time, like on the last album. When we brought on, Christian Wentz joined us and wrote a few songs on Seasons Will Fall and Diamond Blade and things like that. So that was kind of like him just kind of getting his feet wet. This time coming in, we had a lot of good collaboration on most of the music. It has like 4 writers on it. It's me, Christian, Mitch, and Mark Pattison, a great friend of ours who helped us with guitars and production on the album. So we did have another one of our guest writers appear on this one, and he did a fantastic job. So many of the songs have the 4 writers in collaboration. There's a few songs that have just me and Mitch on them again, kind of like the traditional Circle to Circle, and there's a couple of them that have that me and Christian teamed up on. That we teamed up on and did a one-on-one with. So, a nice array of everybody, pitching in there and giving their best creativity. So, yeah, we really tried to spread it out like that on this one.
That's awesome. Yeah, always good to have the band effort happening with the albums, and I always like kind of knowing the behind the scenes aspects of that. So another cool thing with this album is that you got to work with James Murphy, who I'm also quite a fan of. So what was it like working with James?
Yeah, it was amazing. I really had never even worked on an album with James yet, and really he's from the same area of, right there in Florida. I think he's from Lakeland. He lives in Orlando, and, just right there from that I-4 corridor where I had been for, 21 years while, after joining Savatage and everything, before I recently moved back to South Carolina, in the last 3 years or so. But, and you'd figure if you were there all that time, why did it take this long to work together on an album?
Yeah.
but no, he's fantastic, and hey, we got to know each other real good. I'm actually going to be stopping by and seeing him. I frequently go to Florida all the time for all kind of reasons, but I'll be heading down there pretty soon, and we'll be meeting up, and be looking forward to hanging out, and taking a couple of photo ops and put it out there, and just saying hi to each other, because going back and forth, everything's done, on the internet, and we really didn't have to work in person while he's mastering the album, but in the entire time we're on Skype or going back and forth on Messenger. I think most of the time we were on like Facebook Messenger, kind of going back and forth and just giving feedback and stuff like that. And just an incredible guy to work with, very intelligent, has a great ear. He did amazing stuff for the album. There's no doubt about it. So everybody has a piece that they can be real proud of, and James certainly has a part that he should be very proud of. He made it sound amazing.
No, that's great. Yeah, he's a pretty versatile guy too. You look at the different albums he's produced, and they all have kind of a different sound to them too. So I'm interested in hearing what that sounds like with Circle to Circle.
Yeah, exactly. The mix, I kind of made sure that we kind of talked to him before we even went into the mastering process, just to say, hey, here's how we're mixing this. How do you feel about that? So we were all in a lot of agreement coming in, and he had actually, we gave him samples of the way it was going to be mixed and everything, and he goes, great. If you keep going that direction, we'll be able to do it. And then we just kind of told him, how we wanted the end product, because you can manipulate some things, by just your taste of how you want the record to sound overall. There's a little bit of manipulation that can be done. Mostly it's just like an EQ process and, peaks and limiting and, and stuff like that. And really, it kind of just, the way I look at mastering is that you have this dish you're cooking, and the mastering just brings it all together and makes it into like soup.
Yeah.
You got the individual ingredients, but until you master it, it's not really soup yet. That's kind of the way I look at it. So he makes a really great pot of soup over there. But he did it great, and yeah, we had a good plan going in. Like I said, on this album, it was a lot more things that were lined up, they were thought out well ahead of time compared to stuff we've been able to do in the past. So that was one of the many aspects that helped.
All right, cool. Yeah. Another curiosity of mine, and this also ties back into the range place and different sites I've been involved with. Of course, I know I saw an interview with you with, I think the name of the channel was Rock Voice or something. You were talking about your techniques and how you developed the raspy singing and stuff like that. Now I was wondering, how did you kind of start out with singing? Because I know you had been a drummer and stuff. How did you get to that point where you were like, I think singing is where I want my career to go? Well,
I started playing drums when I was 9, and I had to start singing immediately because we didn't have a singer. So the group I was in, 3 guys, me, my little brother, he's a year younger, and my friend who was the same age as I was. So 2 9-year-olds and an 8-year-old decided that they want to play in the talent show the next year. So by the time we get there, we got 2 10-year-olds and a 9-year-old. So yeah. I didn't have a choice. They weren't singing, and we didn't really have anybody else available at the time when you're that age just to go, hey, go find the lead vocalist. It's just not something you do for 8 and 9-year-olds. So we started playing like Eagles songs and, some Kiss stuff and Creedence Clearwater Revival. and little stuff like that. Maybe even a Commodore song thrown in there, as strange as that might be. But, hey, it was whatever was popular at the time. But
yeah.
No, I started singing the minute, and it was strange because you learn to sing sitting down, because you're sitting there playing, the kit, and you're on the throne, and it's like, somebody came in there and said, well, you don't want to sit too far back, get forward, have some support. And I'm like, okay, that's good advice. At least the guys that were teaching me my first drum lessons were kind of, actually, I lucked out because there was a drummer-singer teaching me my first drum lessons. So he was grooming me to be a drummer-singer. He goes, you'll be expected to do backup vocals your entire career, so I want to teach you how to sit on this thing and have some vocal support. And I'm like, wow, how lucky is that? This guy named James, he already sang and played the drums. So I was like, and he was in high school at the time, and that I, was 9 or 10, so just lucked out and got some pretty good lessons from the beginning. But really, it's one of those things where I had been singing since the very beginning, and a lot of the bands I was in, I tended to be, through high school, I tended to be in a couple of bands that had female lead vocalists, and we would do a lot of Pat Benatar and Hart and stuff like that, and I would just be back there, doing some pretty good vocals, but mostly in a backup role, as I was kind of like groomed to, when you hear it when you start, you're like, okay, I'm going to be a drummer and a backup vocalist, okay. Then, as we go along, and I'm playing in bands in college and kind of traveling a little bit to play with a few more, and most of them still had female vocalists in it, and they would give me a few songs to sing where I would be more like a night ranger type of thing, and have the drummer vocal happening, or, any, of those bands back then that might have had, stuff like that, maybe Genesis, where you might have a Phil Collins type situation where I'm playing and have a few songs to sing lead on, but not a whole lot because, it's just kind of tough to play drums all night and do the lead vocals all night. It's just, those two things together can really, it takes a lot of stamina. So by the time I got out of college, I was like, this is when I really think I want to make that, jump to just be a lead vocalist, and let's see what can happen. So that's when I went out and went out to Hollywood, California, and I had gotten some literature on this, on MIT, the school out there, Musicians Institute, and they were having their first vocal institute class called VIT. I was actually in the very first VIT class that they ever offered when they opened up the vocal school, and it was only 6 months back then. So I jumped into there, and that was pretty much my crash course on, developing the skills needed to be a front man instead of a drummer / backup vocalist, and that's kind of when it all began.
Yeah, that's quite interesting, especially coming from the background of drumming and singing at the same time. Like you say, it requires a lot of physical stamina and everything. So was there that period where you kind of had to get accustomed to the idea of singing without playing drums, and it was like was it kind of a different technique almost at that point? Well,
it was better vocally, because when you're standing up, it's always better because you just got a lot. It's just where the body kind of needs to be able to support vocals. And I noticed that right away. I was like, wow, I really like singing standing up better than having to sit down in any type of way. So that was good. But then again, I didn't know really what to do with my hands at that point, or my feet, because you're used to having 2 hands, 2 feet going, and a voice. So I just had to go, what do I do now? Oh, okay, I can't run a marathon. What do I do? Have a vending machine? Sell lemonade stand? No, you're just thinking like, what do I do with my other appendages? So then you just have to go, okay, here's where you need to be a showman. You need to learn how to do stuff. So that, it was just all stuff that he had to develop over time. It came pretty easily. I had all my favorite vocalists by that time throughout my whole, life of listening to music. So I kind of knew who I wanted to I knew who I liked, how they looked on stage vocally. Whether it be, Ronnie Dio or Bruce Dickinson or, all the guys I was watching, Jeff Tate, coming along back then. You already kind of see the moves that you like. So I was just incorporating a little bit of everybody, kind of like a potpourri of the people I liked. And so it wasn't too bad. I mean, just getting the point where you're really singing as a front man, that's a huge difference than singing, backups behind a drum kit, because you start to go through all the growing pains of, oh, what did I just do there on that note? That didn't feel too good. Or, and you just have to, and vocals is a lifelong process of learning. You never know it all. So every year that you can keep singing, you're going to keep learning other stuff. It's just that way. You're never going to get to a point where, oh, I got it down now. Nope, it doesn't work that way. You will always continually be learning and going through trial and error and things like that when your voice is your instrument, and that's just the way it goes. And you have to accept that, and if you can just accept that and say, hey, I'm just going to take all my experience up to this point and go in and improve on the things I've been trying to improve on and stop doing the bad habits that I need to stop, that's the kind of the way you need to look at it.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Was there any techniques that you sort of had to alter like that when you discovered them to find less painful ways of doing them or things like that? Because obviously it's the style that you were doing early on, especially a lot of really high notes and a lot of raspy singing, and how did you go about developing that and making it work for you?
Well, I took vocal lessons pretty much throughout my teen years and all the way up through when I went to VIT. I don't want to make it I sometimes skip on the fact that it wasn't just a jump into the vocal school of VIT. I had various vocal teachers locally, in South Carolina where I grew up, and I had a taste of kind of what you have to do to develop the vocal platform, as we call it, support, diaphragm, the way your diaphragm is supposed to work, things like that, tone, working on tonality, things that can affect your tone, ways to try to develop new, try to hit higher notes by supporting it. And, it's just one of those things where you have to kind of try it and go, oh, ouch, and sometimes you might luck out and say, oh, I had a pretty good technique on that. But I think most all the way through you're developing techniques to do things you want. I didn't come out of the box hitting really, high screams. I have kind of a strange voice where I'm more like a first tenor or second tenor range, and I have this missing little piece, but I can shoot up in the twilight on a high note. But yet there's a piece, everybody's got this thing called the vocal break where you're kind of missing, so mine are in a strange place. I can hit these super high notes, but mainly everybody looks at me as kind of being a kind of a, David Coverdale range, with maybe minus a lot of even the high notes that he would add in there. So everybody's different, and you've got your one little place, and you just hope to be able to make an impression. When I look at where my vocal break is and where my range is and stuff like that, it's very strange because you look around, you're like, well, there aren't too many people right around in that, and that's okay. You really want to have some individuality about it, but you're right. Every step of the way, I felt the pain of learning how to, to sing without pain. It's a painful process in itself, but I got to the point where I could go out, and unless I got some physical thing happening, because, singers, you can't even afford to get a cold. You can't afford to have any kind of sore throat or anything, it's tough. Every little thing affects the entire group when you're the singer. It's not just you. Plus you have the problem where your body is your instrument. If your guitar player gets a cold, he can still hit a power chord. If you're a singer and you get a cold, you won't be able to hit that power note in a lot of cases, but you can learn how to sing around it. And that's part of the training as well. When you do get sick, there's training to help you sing around the sickness, and that's kind of part of the whole global world of it too. But it's all, I just started singing in my garage and just felt the pain of every day just trying to sing like these albums I liked. Whether, I don't know, it'd be, any number of all the rock bands that came out throughout the, time I was coming around the 80s, late 70s, 80s, 90s. I would just get in the garage and start screaming, and I was glad that I got some real formal training, coming along, because, I was like, wow, I don't know if I even want to do this. This is like painful sometimes to the point where, I don't know if I can sing for an hour and be able to come back and do it the next day. You start out like that, and then you end up, 30 years. I guess I've been singing about 40 years now, and you're still going, well, I've still got a lot of stuff to learn out there. So, lifelong process. If like I said, you have to be willing to look at vocals like that. If you're not, then choose another game. Yeah,
definitely. What were some of your favorite albums or songs to sing to back then when you were, kind of developing your vocal chops and stuff like that?
Well, I of course, I tried doing the Queensryche thing, and that never works out really good for anybody.
Yeah.
I just didn't have that really wasn't my range, the stuff that Jeff Tate was singing back then, at least. But I tried it, and that was probably what was one cause of me going, wow, that was pretty painful. What do we do now? Then I go to my teacher and go, how do I get that? He goes, well, you're not him. You got to try to figure out what Zach's, what is Zach Stevens going to sound like? And where do you fit in this? And then when I kind of started understanding where my range really was and not try to, like I would try to sing all the Journey stuff from Steve Perry. Well, that's not everybody either. And if you me, that's not really me. Now, I can go at to a party or somewhere, or just be sitting around and sing along to some Journey tunes and not, and somebody will go, wow, that sounds kind of like him, but not really. That's not really what I do. So you have to be honest with yourself and say, hey, what is the stuff that you like to do? And find your sweet spot and do it like that. I mean, I sang pretty much everything. I would even try to do, I think the White Snake stuff was all right. It was stuff that I could do. I would try Vandenberg, and even Vandenberg, that guy was amazing, and that would pose issues for me early on because I'd be like, dang, I can do it pretty good, but to sustain it was the big thing. So that was a big kind of part of the training back then. Let's see. Well, Quiet Riot, wow. That, to try to cop that sound was pretty much something that Kevin Dubrow was probably only going to be able to do himself. And rest in peace, and we love him. But, in other words, I tried to sing everything. Nothing was out of the realm, and I would try everything. And I think that everybody, if you're coming along as a vocal, go ahead and try everything. Because sooner or later you're going to wind up finding a way to make your range work without trying to just copy that person's sound. And I think that's an important part of the, learning how to develop that vocal platform and everything. But, yeah, I think everything was fair game.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting because a couple of years ago when I'd say maybe 5 years ago when I was kind of starting to take singing more seriously, I actually tried to sing along to the Edge of Thorns album quite a bit. And I could say at that point I thought, wow, how's he singing up there like that? Like for me, it was kind of sort of the equivalent to what you were talking about. I was like, it doesn't seem as high as it really is. I can't, I'm just like squawking these notes or something.
But that has to do with timbre, and that's another aspect of it. Well, you're getting into the timbre is the kind of the depth of the tone, and it will trick you on the Savatage albums. You're right, and you hit on a good point because I have a lower timbre, but yet I'm singing higher stuff. Kind of like what Ronnie Dio was the one who was the master of having that low timbre, but he'd be hitting notes that you go, what? When you go to sing them, they're very high in the range, but he's making them sound low because he has an incredible timbre. And that's something that I had to really try to work on developing over the years. When I first came into Savatage, way back in '92, I was singing a whole different style that didn't have a lot of low timbre to it at all. Coming out of Wicked Wish and the bands that I was in, the few bands that I ever was the front man in before then. So I had to really work on getting that lower timbre and working that into that higher range where it just didn't sound so thin. Because if you might have noticed when you go to hit really high notes, you might sound kind of thin, and you go, well, wait a minute, that guy doesn't sound that thin. Well, that's the way to develop your timbre and to try to keep that lower, that lower timbre, and still be in the upper range. So I think that's what you're saying, and you're right. And that's something that you have to develop too. That's why it takes so really. That's why vocals is a lifelong process. There's a good example of it right there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of an unusual thing because, some people, I think if they're trying to figure out how to maintain that lower timbre and, have I guess a bit of a heavier sound when doing like a higher belting thing, it's sort of instinctual for people to try and just push really hard or, and you get almost like this constipated kind of sound if you try to do it too much,
Yep.
And that's why
pushing, and that's also bad for that's where some pain comes in because if you're really over pushing, then you're kind of like, you're really stressing out the the throat muscles and stuff. So, it's crazy. I really want to get to the point where I can start teach, one day and give back to the kids and stuff, and I will. I'll reach a point where it's not so busy with the the band, having a band, running a band, doing tours all over the world, stuff like that. And one of these days, when it's all when I can settle down out of some of that touring aspect of it and just the whole whirlwind thing, I definitely plan on handing off this knowledge that I have over. It'll be a lot of years of singing by then, and be able to hopefully help people out like that. But I definitely have a plan to teach, when some of this, settles down later in my career.
Yeah, well, that would be awesome, too, because it's not too common for a lot of hard rock or metal singers to give lessons like that. It's almost like that style. There's really no book on it, for a starter. It's not like classical singing or jazz singing or stuff that you can study at a university. With the rock and the metal vocals, it's really kind of it's a different world, and it's not as talked about in that particular sense. So it'd be cool to see what you would do with it when you decide to do some lessons and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. I think I'll go with the younger crowd too, because like I said, I was lucky enough to get from a very young age. When you're sitting there 9 or 10, you're kind of lucky enough to sit with somebody who goes, "Hey, here's your first drum lessons, and I'm also going to teach you to sing a little bit at the same time." And you're like, wow, if you can be lucky enough, like I was, to have a good teacher from the very beginning like that, that's kind of what brought me to where I am today. That everything did, and that was a huge part of it. So I want to probably go with a pretty younger range, maybe even around that age range is where I'm going to start, because I want to be able to at least start by giving back to what I got when I was that age. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that'll be really cool. And speaking of the vocals and the style and everything, I think it's interesting how over your career you've definitely, not just from like the Wicked Witch stuff to Savatage, but also after that you've continued to sort of alter your style and do different things with it. And what was kind of the motivation with Circle to Circle to kind of explore a little bit more of that deeper tonality, a little bit more of that mid-range kind of a thing? Because that's sort of become, the Zach Stevens sound almost, compared to the first couple Savatage albums that were a little more in the 80s metal singing way, I guess.
Well, it's a combination of a couple of things. It's that whole thing about continuing to kind of find where you don't want to be too comfortable, but you want to be in a zone where you can be consistent. And I kind of was exploring ways to, have a power zone and be very consistent and, have the tone that you're looking for and everything like that. But you still want to reach, that's important in rock. Like you're saying, there's no book on rock vocal, like, hey, rock vocal power. But one of the things that I think makes rock vocals interesting is that you do want to have that element of you're still having to reach for it. Don't get too comfortable. You want to have something where you don't kill yourself, but you still want to have a thing where you're going to have to reach a little. And I think that's still something that I've been looking around for. Like I said, the study is never done. And I'm definitely far from, done as far as looking around and still looking into my vocal possibilities. The new record, I think you'll see it. When you finally hear what I'm talking about on the new album, you're going to say, oh, he's reaching a little more there. But it's not so much reaching. I think I've even gotten more comfortable in expanding my range some, Getting older is another aspect. It's just a part of the game. You're not going to sound, like you're talking about Edge of Thorns. I was 26. Well, that was 22 years ago. All of a sudden, I'm 22 years older than that now, But I feel good because I can come pretty darn close to all that stuff. But age, you have to be realistic with your age as a vocalist. You have to be realistic with the changes that come in your voice as you get older, and you have to embrace all that. So, a great question, but I think the best answer is embrace the changes, always be willing to explore it, and don't forget to still kind of leave yourself a little room to reach, because that's what rock and roll is all about, that yearning and that reaching for that next, that the thing that can bring the emotion of the song out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think so. And it's good to hear that, because so I guess for some people, they have a preference for either one approach or the other, because you have, like you were talking about, reaching a little bit. When you get just like you're reaching a little bit and you get that pretty heavy sound. You know, that's a sound that some people really prefer, and I myself might be a little bit more fond of that. But then there's people who really love, you know, the high head voice kind of approach too, and it's like. And it's interesting, you know, they're very different worlds, and yet they both seem to work well over similar kinds of music, and just depending on how you do them. You know, there's a lot of different flavors to the rock and metal singing stuff in that regard, which I think is cool.
You're right, and that's been a big piece of what I've done through the years is be able to take that smooth sound, that, you know, that little, what you're talking about, that head voice smoother sound, and you'll be singing a soft verse. Great, use that. It has a neat little tone to it, and then be able to kick it into that next gear, which is what I call the grind, kind of hammering down a little bit, going for that rougher, a little bit more of a gruff tone, and that was kind of what I didn't even know how to even do that before I got into Savatage. And here you go with a song called Edge of Thorns, the first single that I ever was a part of with Savatage. And in that very song, that was completely demanded, you know, because you have the verses that are, you know, that soft, you know, more soft approach, and then as soon as you hit that chorus on Edge of Thorns, you're in the, you just had to, you know, shift up and kick it in, you know, take the Ferrari and just pow. So I had to do a whole lot of adjustment, even getting to that point, you know. But that when I found out that it's possible, then you open yourself up to a lot of possibilities, and, you know, hey, but the example of what you're talking about is in that very song. You know, just being those are two different worlds, and you try to meld them, and then you begin to get four worlds, and that's where I'm trying to go for. I'm trying to go for four worlds in a song now, not just two. So you just try to keep on exploring and see what you can come up with.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. Definitely pretty psyched about hearing those newer tunes the way you're talking about it with that too. You know.
Yeah, you're gonna like it. We worked hard on it.
Cool.
Everybody did, and I'm, you know, proud of the guys. And, you know, it's the new Circle to Circle record, and it's ridiculous because I'm not even allowed to say the title of it.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Oh my God, I have never been in this position. In the past, we had been discussing the titles of our albums like months and months, you know, and it wasn't ever a problem. Now it's like, look, you know, we're on to something here. I need to keep this completely serious. I'm like, you got to be kidding. So I'm continually referring to the record as the new Circle to Circle album because I can't give you the title.
Yeah.
But it won't be too long now, I guess. But, you know, the thing is I wanted to be able to be around to make this one. You know, if they told me, if, you know, you can make one more and then you're going to have to, you know, go and sell, you know, whatever, shaving products at Walmart, then I would say, you know what, hold on, let me make this one. If you're going to tell me I can't do this anymore, let me make this one. So that's kind of the mentality that I went into it, and I was talking to all the guys, and I said, look, let's let that be your mentality. If they told you had to do one more and you got to stop and do something else, that's what we want to do with this album. So I think that mentality really, you know, it created an urgency, even though I don't think anybody really believed me.
Yeah.
Oh no, I don't really believe you. I don't really believe they're going to come say that we can't do this anymore, Zach. But I said, I know, but just pretend for a minute, you know, work with me here.
Yeah.
You know, and let's just have a sense of urgency. So I don't know. That's kind of what we I guess we joked about it mostly, but I tried to start it out as a serious point, but it kind of quickly turned into a joke because nobody believed me that they would have to sell shaving resources at Walmart after this album. So it didn't go over very well. But I tried to create the sense of urgency, and I think that we will see that when you hear it.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. It makes me actually think a little bit back to even something like Watching in Silence. I remember hearing that and thinking, you know, this is a big statement for the first album from a band, you know. And then there's a couple other albums that you've done with that vibe too, a little bit, like Burden of Truth, you know, because that was like the first one where you were not working with Chris Caffery or John Oliva, you know, those kind of debuts, I guess. Yes. And so I'm definitely curious about it for that reason as well, because, you know, you really that sense of urgency really shows on some of those albums, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Those were kind of like, you know, firsts for, you know, like debuts for the situation. And this one is definitely a debut for a new situation. You know, we've been building a kind of a new. We started 3.5 years ago, Garrick, to focus on doing this very album. This is kind of like a 3.5 year project. You know, even though encompassed in that was the release of Seasons Will Fall. We had only very much began to even touch the surface of what we wanted to do. We were on the way, but it just so happened that Seasons Will Fall fell into this 3.5-year plan. And that's kind of where we're at. So if you can kind of look at it like that, I think that's the way that we look at it as a band. You know, we know that Seasons Will Fall came out. It was a good turn for us. It was an improvement from what was going on, but we had a long way to go, and that was just an album that fell into the 3.5-year plan to do this one, which I still can't say the name of, which is ridiculous. You caught me a little early. You guys who are coming in real early on the press press cycle, you're getting the problem of me not being able to tell you the name of the album.
Yeah, well, that's okay. Well, once it's announced.
As soon as the label starts inviting other press people to talk to me, then guess what? When they invite them, they'll probably be saying, "Oh, you can now release the name of the record." But all the guys, like when we just talk online and we go, "Hey, you want to do an interview?" Sure. You know, we're kind of a little bit before the press cycle, so that's the reason. So I apologize for that. But hey, it's also good to be early.
Yeah, definitely, and it's all right. You know, I mean, once the album title's revealed, you know, we can go back and listen to this, and it'll be like, oh yeah, that's the one they were talking about, you know.
Exactly. All these hints, maybe they'll have some meaning or something at that point. But I think we'll look back on these early ones, and I love them. I love the real early press. I've never had more super early interviews than for this album. I will tell you that. You're part of a kind of a really early, biggest wave that we've ever seen of, you know, of people coming to us and saying, "Hey, look, can you talk about it now?" And I'm like, "Yeah, why not?" You know, we in the past, you know, we might say, "No, it's too early," but I don't think it's ever too early. I like this real early stuff because you're right. We will look back at this and laugh and go, "Oh my God, this is awesome."
Yeah, exactly. Continuing with some of the curiosities I have about, you know, some various different things. One thing I'm also interested in is the fact, of course, you guys recently did a Kickstarter that went really well for the Dreams That Never Die documentary. And for those of, you know, the people listening who maybe don't know exactly what the concept behind the documentary is, could you maybe talk a little bit about that?
Yes, we did the Kickstarter campaign, and we did raise the target amount to do the documentary film. We have been filming it for, we have done a European tour that we started filming, and we went to the Middle East, and we went to Dubai for the second time, and we have that completely captured already. So we have a European tour, which included Dubai in the middle, and went back and finished Europe, so we have all that. We have the making of this new album that we have captured a lot of footage on for it. We have been doing interviews with fans of ours, you know, our friends and followers and stuff like that we're continuing to get in there. It's quite a lot to think that it's only going to be it's probably going to be 2 hours, maybe not quite 2 hours in length, because your standard length for some of this stuff is about 2 hours max, that we have hundreds of hours of footage already for it, and we're still not even close to capturing everything we want to capture, and then we have to assemble all that and edit all of it down to something like 2 hours for the documentary. Plus, we're going to make another DVD-type situation with this as well, because we're going to have plenty of footage to do it. So it's actually going to be a bonus for everybody, because we actually went into it saying we want to make a documentary, but we're going to be able to make a documentary and another DVD easy, just because of all the stuff we're capturing and just a lot of stuff that happens in the band, just kind of following a rock band like us around the world, watching what happens, seeing the interactions with our supporters and fans, and, you know, getting the reactions from everybody, talking about things that we see in places that a lot of bands don't get to go. We're one of the lucky bands that we're discussed in the same discussion as most European bands, yet we're not from Europe. You know, we're an American band. So, and we go to the Middle East, and, you know, we go a lot of places, and we're going to be going a lot more places than we've ever been coming up, and probably going to expand out in South America as well. We will have the Brazil tour captured. That's going to be coming up later this year. Looking for some nice stuff in the U.S. that we're hoping to announce pretty soon that's coming together, and very exciting. And there's, some of it's a little bit even like reality show, just catching the stuff as it happens, and I wanted it to be a little bit reality showish in some aspect. But really, it's just kind of just capturing a rock band from the USA that still plays rock and still, carries the flag of heavy, progressive, hard rock, power metal music, and has a fan base that stretches almost to every country, across there's some places we haven't been, but like Australia, which is a little bit far of a flight, but you can name some places, but it's been pretty amazing where the music will take you, and that's something that we're just trying to capture and relate to everyone in the documentary.
Oh, that's cool. Will the documentary also include some of the footage from the Handful of Rain dates you did, where you played the album all the way through?
Yes, we certainly do, because we had several shows in Europe where we did that. So that will definitely be featured, and pretty much try to get a piece of everything we do in there. You think by the time you can get everything you want in there, it might be 15 seconds of everything. No.
Yeah.
No, it'll be better than that. But, talk about where the band, how it started, where it's come, the whole realm. We're getting into my 20-plus year career as and all the stuff that came along with Savatage and everything, and pretty much everything we've been involved with, we touch on in the documentary.
Yeah, that's definitely cool, and so it focuses specifically on like the beginnings of Circle to Circle, and it kind of starts around that area.
Yes, it does, and that really takes you back to the Savatage days as well. So that's how you get into the full history, and we're a lot of good interviews of people who were involved, and just so much work still to be done. When you ask that question, my mind starts going, oh my God, through the list of things that we still have to do for that. But it's due out at the end of the year, so we are going to spend this year and capture this new album too for Circle to Circle, and really, capture everything that's going to happen this year. This is a really good year. 2015 has a lot of really cool things going on for everything that I came from. So definitely still have a lot of work to do, but it's going to be good because it's going to be packed full of, a lot of good stuff that we were able to capture to explain what this band is about, where we come from.
Yeah, I think it's pretty exciting, really, to see all the tour dates you guys got going on, and with the documentary and the album and everything. It's cool. Just as a fan,
Yeah, cool. I hope everybody thinks so, and we're looking forward to getting it out there. But like I said, the main thing is there's still so much more to go in, and we have all that footage already. It's just going to be crazy. The editing process is going to be crazy to watch.
I can only imagine. It'll be something. But actually, mentioning that you guys did do that Handful of Rain, couple of shows and everything. Is that something you'd consider doing? Because I know you did it with Wake of Magellan a few years ago. Have you thought about maybe doing something for Dead Winter Dead, or is that going to be like something you'll do in the future as well, or is it kind of like, those two I think are enough for now?
Well, I don't know. I would say it's definitely a possibility. I mean, if there's just one more out there, I think we've done it for 3 out of the 4 studio albums that I was on. So I would say it's probably a possibility of it, definitely. I mean, that's something that we talk, it kind of hit on the subject once in a while with the band guys when we're traveling around. Hey, well, that's the only one we had done that. And everybody will go, dang, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
And you get those discussions in there, like, wouldn't that be wild? And, of course, it's so fun to perform them. I mean, it's great, I'm just lucky to come from that great music of Savatage and be able to, do those things in the full album form. It just takes you through the entire thing night after, every night you can do it. It takes me right back to there, and that's the fun part about doing it for me, is I just kind of get to escape into my own little, place of going, and it just takes me back to those days. It really does. And we would certainly be, not ruling out doing it for Dead Winter Dead just because of that same reason. It's just an amazing thing to be able to perform it all at one time, and you just get to really feel the flow of the story, because many of those records are concept albums, so they have stories, and It's like telling a story. I love doing it. That was kind of like what I felt like I was doing most of the time in Savatage anyway. Was being the storyteller. It's my job to tell the story. I'm the narrator. I do it vocally, and here's the story. And that's how I would memorize all those lyrics, to tell you the truth, because I looked at it in my mind as the story. So me telling the story, how can you forget the lyrics? So it helped me tremendously. There's another phase of vocals. Don't forget the lyrics. No.
Yeah, good point.
Another challenge to throw at you, right? No.
Yeah.
But if you look at it, that's the way it really helped me with that, because, I would say, here's the story, and I am the storyteller, and that really helps. But it's interesting. It's an interesting way to look at it, but I really, that's why I love doing those, when we get a chance to do those records like that, front to back, definitely from the storyteller perspective.
Oh, that's awesome. Would you say you have a favorite out of those 4 that you were on?
Oh, you had to do that, didn't you?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That's fan curiosity, I guess.
It's so hard. There's just so much. I can't, because I would be leaving out. I would feel like I kind of hurt the feelings of the other albums.
Yeah.
There's so much good stuff, in each one. And to say that you had to go with one, then you look at and you go, oh my God, how could I leave that out? Oh, and that, I just couldn't even look at it like that, Garrick. I can't.
Yeah,
they
I understand.
also got, certain songs or either certain stories, or there's always 2 or 3 or 4 songs for me on each one that are like, oh God, this is what it's all about. So it's just really hard to look at it like that.
Yeah. Well, it's always been a hard pick for me. I've never quite been able to completely decide either. So.
Well, all right. We should all remain neutral then and go with that now.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's understandable. But would you, kind of related to that though, would you say you have not just with Savatage, just kind of in general? Would you say there's any vocal performances or even lyrics you've written or songs you've written that you'd say that's one of my prouder moments, that particular bit there, or there's just something like that that kind of pops out as being, that was a challenge, I did that good, or something like that?
Well, I can think of a couple on the new album coming out, and that's good to still be able to say that. And you'll probably be able to pick those out. I would say Burden of Truth, maybe. That has a lot of, I think that one pops out because it just has a place for me in my life. When I'm going to say that, hey, I'm going to talk about a moment or, some vocal performance or something, it's probably going to be a little bit more affected by, did it have a real impactful meaning at some point in my life? Did the song come from something that's, was kind of a emotional sticking point or something like that in my life or something like that? So that's why the song Burden of Truth pops out. It has a lot of counterpoint vocals in it as well, which was a signature that came from Savatage and Paul O'Neill, as the mastermind of the counterpoint vocal. Paul was the mastermind of it. I was just his trusty helper because he would say, look, here's what's in my mind. Can you please help me get this down on tape? And I went, I most certainly can.
Yeah.
So we were a good team like that because I couldn't probably think of that on my own. I would have never come up with that in my own brain, but yet he needed my help to get it translated onto the record. So that's where teamwork comes in this, and that's what I love about the music business. It takes everybody, There's always something somebody can't do, but they need, So that was, of course, that's a collaborative aspect of music. But that one sticks out probably. I would say, Watching in Silence is a good example. I mean, it's not anything ultra challenging and everything. It's just such a great song. John Oliva riff, amazing. Let's see. Seasons Will Fall. Seasons Will Fall has a lot of, and has a few good, I think the song Seasons Will Fall is probably one of those moments in a way. It has that piano, type, riff where, You got the smooth lyric, kind of that going along with Edge of Thorns. The song Edge of Thorns would be one of them. Maybe, let's see, Epiphany on Seasons Will Fall. That's a good one. That's kind of a song that kind of stands on its own, that you can't really replicate again, but you can have that one shot at it.
Yeah.
And it has some, emotional situations that kind of stand out. I don't know. I think that's just some of the ones that came off the top of my head. I'm sure there's more, but
yeah, I think it's cool. You also mentioned Watching in Silence, just because that particular track, the whole song really, but the verses I've always really stuck with me because the soft tone you use in that part, I've always really been a big fan of.
Yep, and amazing songwriting by John, and Chris Caffrey did some amazing stuff with us too on a couple there in the beginning, and yeah, good stuff. It's always, like I said, I've been lucky to be able to sing stuff and work with great songwriters, and that always helps a lot too. That's a huge component, and that has an element of luck. So
yeah, it does. Yeah, actually, I think it's interesting too. Is pretty in some ways with roughly around the time of Burden of Truth, I'd say. It seems like your lyrical content and the vocal melodies actually became like more intensely emotional, and almost like, I don't know if I'd say more. I don't know if they were more personal, but they kind of feel like they are in a way, just listening to them. Would you say that was kind of the direction you kind of chosen to take Circle to Circle a little bit more into from the beginning, and then at that point kind of more into the into that different sort of a vibe, or was it just kind of just ended up happening that way? Would you say?
Well, it's an aspect of the songwriting kind of changing, where, me and Mitch got together and were writing a lot more, and kind of decided we were going to go in that direction of me and him kind of pairing up and kind of seeing where that would broaden out in the future. I think it was just a natural aspect of that collaboration between me and him. When you put two songwriters together that is a different type of pairing, you're going to get all this, this extra... just a lot of extra pizzazz, that, or, something coming along there that you just never had before. Inspiration is a lot of different things. So that was part of it, and it really led to those melodies. But again, the concept of that album being more on the, kind of like a, Da Vinci Code, more like a religious kind of thing where, hey, what if everything we were ever told was completely false? It is an emotional, type of concept, So that would lend itself alone to having a little bit more. So I think it's several aspects, but probably those two aspects more than anything.
Yeah, I can see that. And I think what's cool about Burden of Truth as well is it's one of those concept albums that you can think of it as being about this specific concept, follow the story, and that's pretty cool. And then you can also just listen to it as just a collection of songs, because the lyrics sort of, they both work in a specific and vague way. That's one thing I really was amazed by how you did that, because a lot of times it's, sometimes you want a concept album like, if Wake a Magellan or something, you want it to be directly a concept album, follow the story, but with Burden of Truth you can kind of do both, and I was like, whoa, that's different,
Yeah, we kind of purposely did that, one of those purposely vague things, like you said, where you want it to be, I always wanted our concept albums to be able to have songs where they're just standalone, but not, but yet are still, definitely tied into the concept. So, yeah, you're exactly right. I would do that on purpose. Absolutely. And not, not have too many lyrical content just going, okay, this, he walks down the street and he does it, yeah. I was purposely vague on a lot of that stuff, but I wanted it to be able to have songs that stood alone. But if you listen to it as a complete album, you would hear how it tied in. So, yeah. Glad you picked up on that because, oops, I kind of purposely was vague on that.
Yeah. Well, I definitely enjoyed how that one turned out with that. And but yeah, at the same time, Circle to Circle is sort of one of those bands that even just beyond the concept album thing, I think you can listen to them as albums, or you can just listen to songs separately too, And that's kind of one of the defining, I'd say almost one of the the defining factors of the band a little bit too, is just how it's there's you can kind of enjoy it in multiple ways, I guess.
Yeah, that's true, and I hope people can. We try to put it out there where, it has a pretty broad appeal. We're lucky. We've got a very, solid group of followers and people that buy our records every time. It's very consistent. If you go back and look at technical things like SoundScan, we have exactly the same number of people in the USA who bought that bought Watching in Silence, that bought every album up to this point. So when sales started dropping off, 3 or 4 years or 5 years ago, when everything dropped off 30 or 40% due to everybody kind of like just downloading stuff and not buying records anymore, that didn't happen to us.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
We have exactly the same number of people every time in the United States. Now, this is just the U.S. SoundScan. I'm not even talking about Europe or anywhere else in the world. Just in the U.S. So that's pretty cool. And we owe a lot to our fans for that, for being there every time so consistently. We didn't, and it was very common to see a lot of bands have that normal drop-off when album sales did drop 30 to 40% 5 years ago. Yes, managers would say, oh, God, yeah, all my bands did that. But then, ours would go, you don't get affected by that. And I think that's a tribute to our fans right there. We have the best, and it really came from having great Savatage fans because, back then talking to all of the people who followed Savatage, very discerning group, very definitely will give you their opinion, which is good, but very intelligent and great fans to have. And I think that really poured over, luckily, into who buys the Circle to Circle stuff because it's unwavering. It is unbelievable when you look at the numbers. We never got affected by the general state of what was going on in the music business.
Yeah, that's awesome to me. And I think what it's also cool is just that Savatage, all the bands have sort of become an offshoot of it, from Circle to Circle and John Oliva's Pain and, of course, Trans-Siberian Orchestra. I mean, I always think of, it's like the big Savatage family, you know what I mean? And whenever I, meet someone who's also a Savatage fan, I'm like, it's like, yeah, you kind of relate on that level. And then, and Circle to Circle is sort of the same way, because it's all part of that big group. And it's, and then it's kind of an underground group a little bit, except, So is huge, but
yep. You
but
definitely
yeah,
stay underground.
Yeah, but that's where you really get I think that's why there's so many loyal followers,
Yeah, I think there's some camaraderie amongst them. I'm one myself. I'm a huge Savatage fan myself, a fan of the band since about 85 or 86. When I first, somebody first went, hey, here, check this out. So I came into the band as a fan, so I know exactly what you mean. When I see the fans of Savatage, I feel that same camaraderie, because we are part of that underground fan base, even though I was in the band, which is strange to hear, but it's actually true. But we're on a real mission to increase it. This year, our big goal in Circle to Circle is to go out there and, we know we've been consistent with these so-called numbers and figures and if people want to look into the technicals of it, but we're really looking to go ahead and build and make a huge increase because, we want to go out there and make some noise. So that's kind of our plan for this year, just to build on that. It's been nice that it's been real steady and unaffected by trends in the music business. That's to the tribute of our fans, that we owe that to them. But we're really wanting to go make some noise and pick up a bunch more that can join the party,
Yeah, definitely. Always cool to expand the audience as well.
Yeah.
And plus it's interesting just how you have Trans-Siberian Orchestra, like I said, such a huge act, and a lot of people don't even know that they came from Savatage or anything like that. But I feel like because there are some similarities between their sound and the other bands that have that also have come from Savatage, I think there's a chance of getting fans of TSO to really get into to the more underground names that have created it.
Yeah, it's true. I think so. And we have a few instances on the new Circle to Circle album, as a matter of fact, that I think can really reach them more than ever before. So I'm really looking to very curious to see how that happens. And I agree. We have a lot more potential. So we got to get out there, and we got to tour more in the U.S. We knew that, so we're going to get that done. And just got a lot of things on the checklist to do.
Yeah, it'll be cool. And actually, you confirmed this for me near the beginning of the interview when I didn't actually know for sure. But you are gonna be at the Savatage Reunion show then?
Everything's looking great. Everybody's talking. Everything's fantastic. Don't have many details. They're not releasing all that stuff yet. But let's just say I'm very excited. The plan for everything is tremendous, and it's going to be a huge honor to be there, playing with the guys again. It's just so much that we can't talk about right now, but let's just say I'm super happy with everything that I'm hearing.
All right, yeah, because I was kind of wondering.
And you're early again. And
yeah.
that's another problem with the early bird that you are. But no, you're going to hear a lot more in the coming weeks. So just hold on; it won't be very long now. But I couldn't be any more happier than I am about every the little things that I have to keep a secret. So yeah, I couldn't be in a better place right now. I'm very happy.
All right, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, because initially when it was announced, I thought like, well, okay, well, which incarnation is it going to be?
Yeah, it could be many incarnations. You'll see pretty soon.
All right, cool, yeah. But it's definitely that's definitely good to see happen because a lot of people probably just didn't expect that to happen, given that band members kind of went in different directions with different bands and everything. So
yeah, that's true. But yeah, you never know. You can never say never in the music business. So
yeah, absolutely.
Hey, we don't know. I mean, there's still quite a lot of chances for stuff to happen that we don't even know it even at this time. So you just have to be open to a lot of different possibilities, and I think that chance is definitely out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Something you touched on a little bit earlier was talking about the vocal counterpoint stuff that you've done with and that kind of, as you said, originated with Paul O'Neill, and I think the first time you did it was in Chance and stuff like that.
Yep.
But I was wondering, do you also share the love of musical theater that I know John Oliva has, and was that something that you guys kind of bonded over, or is that aspect of your singing something you more so developed just through doing Savatage and different kinds of stuff with them?
I think all the guys have a little bit of an appreciation for the theater in some way, whether it's Broadway, whether it's off-Broadway, something like that, just that whole performance aspect, that is music. And that has really become the the cornerstone of the TSO thing. Just that whole Broadway vibe with that little extra kick with the guitars and just a really cool, concept that definitely, like you said, derived from Savatage type sound, especially in the later years where it became a lot more orchestral and philharmonic and stuff like that. And I just think it's a result of the expanding out into that kind of sound, and it really has unlimited potential when you start orchestrating the rock as to where that could go. And I know John, that's just the way he writes songs. He got very interested in really getting huge like that, and coming more out from just a pure metal aspect to more of a, broader orchestrated type, musicality to it. So that really kind of flowed down to everybody, and then everybody in the band gets interested in it. Then you have a lot of different possibilities. And vocally, like I said, I just wanted to be there and be that, that painter. If somebody comes up with an idea, I just got to be able to paint that into the microphone. If somebody has an idea like, I want this masterpiece of this art to look like this, I just looked at myself as one of the the good little helpers that I'm going to go paint I'm going to paint this landscape or this portrait into this microphone. And that's my job. I still look at it as my job, to bring ideas to life. And I look at the microphone as like my canvas. That's what I do.
That's a cool way of putting it, yeah.
That's the way I'm looking at it lately. The microphone is the canvas. Watch how I piece this thing together, because, if people can see how I do things in the studio, it's a very orderly manner, and I start with certain parts, and there's a plan behind everything, and then I just start building things piece by piece, and at times you'll go, what in the world is he doing? Then all of a sudden at the end, go hit play. and it's like, blah. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
I understand now. But that comes through all those years of, and a lot of stuff I learned in Savatage doing it that way. So, the way we recorded the vocals with Paul O'Neill, producing those sessions, and taking a lot of that and just kind of put it together with some of my own common sense that I learned along the way. And so it's a very meticulous, purposeful effort of painting into the canvas, into the mic. I'll tell you that much.
That's definitely cool to know, because it's as you say, you talk about the craft of singing, craft of writing good vocal melodies and everything. It's elusive for a lot of people, but as you say, you almost like if you can mentally imagine what it is you want it to look like, in a sense, then it can kind of come to reality easier, I would imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to have a vision for it, and even if you don't, like I said, go in there and do some trial and error. Oh, well, I thought that might be all right, but that's really not hitting the spot. So you just kind of keep on doing it till you get what you wanted, or somewhere close. And good thing is to have people around that had a pretty good vision to begin with, and that's probably going to lead to the best product, and that's what we try to do. Yeah,
definitely. So I'm kind of curious a little bit too about your lyrical process, because some people approach it with vocal melody first. Some people have the words first and then the vocal melody and stuff like that. How do you kind of put it? How do you put that particular aspect together? Because I know for a lot of people, including myself, lyrics is kind of like the hardest part, of music.
Yep, definitely. What I do, I start with the music generally. Collect the song, we kind of work on the music, and we kind of understand the arrangement of it, and we work on that first, and then it kind of comes to where the vocals are going to need to be formulated. So I kind of let, what does the music tell me about it? I let the music kind of speak to me and tell me what this song is about. I don't try to force anything. I don't go in there with, well, I got these lyrics I wrote, and I really got to press this into something. No, I don't really do it that way. I don't force anything in. I just kind of I sit with it for a few days and let the music start talking to me in a way and tell me what it is about. If it's not evident right away, I light up a secret potion that explodes in the room. No, I'm just kidding. I just sit with it for a few more days, and then it'll tell me eventually what it's about. And then I'll go, well, all right, now that I kind of see a picture of what it might be about, then I kind of go say, well, did I watch any TV shows lately? Did I read anything lately that kind of appeals to this subject matter? Is it something that's interesting to me? Did I see something on the Smithsonian Channel? Did I see something on Investigation Discovery? Did I see anything on the American Heroes Channel? Clue? Old episodes of Miami Vice? No, I'm just kidding. But, anything that I might have been doing lately. Did I go out and witness something when I was out shopping? Anything. Everything's fair game. And then all of us, you just kind of like get it. Then I start formulating the melody. And then once I get the melody, I can make the words the words have to be able to fit right into the melody. So I come up with the melody first. Then I kind of think about the lyrical part of it, and then I throw the lyrics in to make sure that they jive well in the melody, where they're not, causing something to happen that wouldn't normally be there. I definitely work the words and the syllables into the melody, something like that. And then just keep on going. You're not going to get everything done in one sitting, so, you just have to be willing to kind of say, oh, well, all right, I got this to this point, it's all right, I'll pick it up later. Then look at it again tomorrow and say, oh, that's all right. Some stuff you might be able to fly through. There's been a few songs where I've just been able to fly through and kind of like, oh, gosh, I'm writing all the lyrics to this song right now. But it's pretty rare, because I just kind of like to take my time and, don't. When I first started doing it, I would really say, oh, my God, I'd be doing a million other things, and I'd say, I got to have these lyrics written in 2 nights for this thing, because I got to go sing this song in the studio in 3 nights. Well, I don't rush that anymore. I just make sure I get everything done well in advance and just kind of do a little bit along the way and don't push everything off. Because when I was younger and I had younger kids, young babies, and you get a lot of things going on in your life, and you're basically like, you know what? This song I have to do the vocals for tomorrow night, and I don't even have lyric 1 written.
Yeah.
It would get that bad. I'm going into Morris Sound tomorrow. I'm working with Jim Morris. I've got 3 lines, and the vocals for this song have to go down tomorrow. Nope, I don't want to be in that. Now, did I go in and do it? Yeah. Did I stay up till 1 or 2 or 3 a.m. get it done? Yeah. Probably go work another job? Sure. But I don't want to. I'm done with that. You know, I've had to do that in the past, but I don't do it now. You know, I want to make sure that I just take my time and just do a little bit every day. You know what I mean? You don't want to have to crush yourself like that. There's going to be times you have to, because then your label will call one day and go, "Oh, we need the record about 2 weeks earlier." Oh no, now I do have to go sing that song tomorrow night in the studio that I have 1 line for. But at least I got a melody. You know, if you've got all that, you can probably press some things in that'll work. But you know, working is one thing, but being great is another. So I like the way I do it now by taking my time to try to go for, you know, something rather than just, oh, this works, to just, oh, well, this is actually great. It not only works, it has a chance to be great, you know. So that's kind of where my head is at now compared to where it was like 5 or 7 years ago or something, you know.
Yeah. Do you actually, will you have like, you'll listen to the recording and then maybe like sing over it with nonsense syllables at first?
Sure.
Just, you know, like.
Yep. Scat. I call it scatting. Sometimes I get my first lyrics that if I'm really like pressing, like, I don't know where to even start with this, I'll just scat and let some lyric come out and go, oh, okay. Foxes in the forest. Oh. No, I'm just kidding. I never use that. But,
that'd be an interesting topic for the next Circle to Circle song.
Cheez-Its in my mouth, drinking Kool-Aid, and going to get a 6-pack. Nope, those didn't work. Darn. But you know what I mean? You might say stuff like that in the scat phase. What I call it. It's not really scat. That was a form of blues or whatever. But you know what I mean. We used to call it just like mumbo jumbo. We used to do it in Savatage too.
It's interesting, like, actually, because I know, you know, people like, I don't know, James Hetfield, they'll record demos where it's just, there's no actual words, and just sing the entire, sing the entire song on nah or something. Just be like, no, you know.
Ramen noodles, a bristle Brussels stew. That was a big one we always had in Savatage. You had to sing bristle Brussels stew.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's a joke that me and John Oliva have. It's called only me and him know about the bristle Brussels stew.
Oh wow, this is some classified information then.
True. This could come out in the documentary. We don't know, or later in my book. No, I don't know. But anyway.
Yeah, no, that's
but
good
yeah,
to hear about
you're right.
that
I mean,
process.
you know, all kinds of stuff. I mean, whatever works. There's no one way. I mean, everybody's got. I might even change my ways someday, but for now, they're pretty much consistent with what I told you.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Actually, there is one kind of, I guess, note curiosity of mine, which is that I was thinking earlier, listening to "Fields of Sorrow" from "Watching in Silence."
Yep, I was going to name that song earlier. Funny you.
Oh yeah. I was going to say there's a part in that song where it's, you know, there's like a layered vocal and there's a pretty low vocal in the backing vocal there. I was wondering if that was also you singing that part, because it's kind of harder to tell. I'm like, who's singing that low vocal there? Yeah,
all the low stuff. Oh, yeah, and John's in there, too.
Oh, he is?
Yes. So that what you hear, the lowest voice, that's probably John.
Yeah, I was wondering about that, because I know he likes to do some pretty low stuff. That was
one of the ones he came in and did some stuff, because that had counterpoint vocals in it as well. And I do remember him coming in and doing like a real lower... Yeah, I think that is John that you're hearing right there. I'm about 99% sure that's John.
Yeah, because I know you've done some pretty low stuff too, like Not What You See, that track. You know, there's some low vocals in there and everything.
But I can't go as low as John.
Yeah, John's got kind of
an incredible low and high, you know, thing happening.
Yeah, like
there's magic. That's why I like it when me and John do stuff together, because you got that. It's almost like I don't know. Me and John on stage together is like, you know how you got the devil on your right shoulder and an angel on your left one?
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like Heaven and Hell, or Peanut Butter and Jelly, or I'm not going to say Good and Evil, because you know me, I'm kind of just playing around, but
yeah.
Oh, I've always got to be the angel, and I've always got to be good. Oh, it's him that's the devil. No, I'm just kidding. No, but you know what I mean. He's got that. He can do that really nasty, evil stuff that I really don't do in my voice. I'm more like the angelic person. So we used to joke and call it Heaven and Hell.
Yeah, because I can hear that.
He's got to be hell and I got to be heaven. Now I hate that. No, and that's another joke. But you know what I'm saying? It's that real dichotomy of what's going on. It's that complete opposite, kind of thing, and that's magical. So that's something that I get excited about, because having both is like, it's like a huge weapon. Yeah,
I think so.
But, and then having one or the other is like, I got one weapon, but I could have both of them. I could have that, big time, just that covering all bases kind of thing. But
yeah. Now that means he's probably also doing the low parts in Forgiven, right? I think so. Sort of growly low parts on that.
Yep.
Yes, it's kind of that's definitely a bit of that dichotomy you were talking about, where he comes in and says like a line, and then you start singing. It's like, whoa, there's that difference going on there, but it connects really well.
I think that worked really good. Yeah, that worked very good in Savatage, and he helped me out with some stuff like that. So the whole aspect of trying to do that again is really amazing.
Yeah, I think so. And it's cool seeing those older YouTube like the YouTube videos you can see of you guys duetting on gutter ballet and tracks like that. Mm-hmm. One person said you almost had like I think he said John Oliva was almost like a little bit more Aussie and you were a little bit more Dio or something like that. I don't know if that's the best way of putting it, but it's like. You do have a bit more of that, like, I don't know if operatic is the right word, but, a little bit more of that sort of dramatic, he's a little bit more,
I'm a bit more stagey.
Sinister.
Yeah, I would be a little bit more like the Broadway type, and John's that powerful entity, the powerful entity.
That character.
And I'm the, I don't know exactly what you call it, the more melodic Broadway. I don't know if I'm the one that's sent in there to rescue the princess or what, and he would be like the evil guy trying to tie her to the railroad track.
That's possible.
No. Everything we come up with we have to laugh about, because you know what I'm saying? It is that opposite. Yeah. It's that opposite thing, but it's great,
Mm-hmm. Well, it was also cool that you guys got to do a duet kind of a thing on a guest appearance you did with that Play the Pawn track.
Yep.
For some reason, I can't remember the name of the band that did it, though, unfortunately, offhand. But that was pretty interesting. There we go, yeah.
They live in Dubai, and they're really
cool.
good friends of ours.
How do you generally feel about doing guest vocal appearances like that? Because you've done quite a few, like you did with Timo Tolkki recently.
I'm still doing them. I still do them from time to time. I'm doing one in the coming week for something called Dawn of Destiny, and that's out of Germany. I'm doing one called Foreign from France. I did Timo Tolkki with his Avalon, the new Avalon CD that he has out now. I sang one on there. And I do it from time to time. That's another thing I like to do, to branch out, to get out of my own cage. So I find that as a good way to get out of the zoo cage and just to look at things from a different perspective. And you know what I'm saying? Just to step outside of the your own proverbial world for a minute and get into someone else's. And you can get onto some really great stuff like that. I mean, I did one for a band called Sebastian out of Czech Republic. We have a duet with me and George, the singer, and it, came out amazing, and that'll be a record they got coming out later. I mean, there's a lot of, they're kind of all over the place. But I don't do so many where you can't keep up with them. I do probably about, 3 or 4 a year max or something like that, but they start to accumulate over time.
Yeah,
There's been a couple for Brazil. I think it was The Hourglass was the name of the band. Or no, that was the song, right? The Hourglass?
Oh, yeah, let me... yeah, I'm remembering
Syria?
this title, but...
Yes, either the song or the band was The Hourglass, and I could probably find the other. Good question.
Oh, yeah, The Hourglass, Play the Pawn.
Yeah, that's right, The Hourglass, haha. See, my memory's still holding in there, somewhat.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that was a cool one.
I definitely like to do that kind of stuff. It helps you get outside of your own world for a minute and I learn from that kind of stuff. I learn something from every time I do a guest appearance on somebody's record, I learn something. And that's what it's about too. Try to pick up something that you can bring into your own world. Not to rip anybody off, of course, but you'll learn something musically that you can apply to your own situation, and it's going to help you.
Yeah, I would think so. It's a different kind of a challenge, I would imagine.
Oh yeah, I've been in there sometimes going, oh my God, I can't think of this range at all. Then I get out of there somehow, and they go, oh great, that was amazing. I'm like, you got to be kidding! That was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, singing on your stuff. I'm like, please let me back to the circle to circle world.
Why are you putting me through this?
Get me back in my comfort zone, please. That was so crazy. So hey, it can go either way, but for the most part, yeah, I've learned something on every one of them.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I guess just a few more questions I have. One of them would be just in general, like these days, are you able to find time to just kind of chill, listen to new albums, or even older music, like stuff that that you, when you're not making music of your own, do you still have find time for that?
Yeah, I find time. It's mostly on YouTube, and it's mostly on a computer, because I'm usually find myself having to type something, or a lot of the stuff we do. In my role, being the singer of the band and everything, I have a lot of business to do in the management part of it. So I'm usually having to type something up or update something on a website or send in a new thing or an input list over here, a writer over here, type up a bio, update something. It's just constant. And I'm not really the manager, but I've called upon a lot to provide most of the stuff, so I have to spend a lot of time on the computer every day just to run the business. So I put on YouTube all the time, and I go back to any number of thousands of different things and new bands and everything. I like the new Godsmack a whole lot. Avenged Sevenfold, I'm a big fan of. Udo, even Accept, which is different. Udo doesn't sing with Accept anymore, but we actually got to open up for Accept on one of the shows on the last European tour.
Oh, awesome!
Which you'll see on the documentary. But meeting their new singer, he's from New York, or I think maybe Pennsylvania or New York or something like that. The really great people, and went and just from doing that, I'll go back and check out the entire catalog. It depends. I mean, I go through all kind of stuff. I might find an old funk band that I liked in the 70s and start looking through their entire catalog, or I might land on Ronnie Dio and go through all my songs from his career in Black Sabbath, or land on Ozzy, or land on Thin Lizzy or something, or it's just who even knows. I can go one realm to the other in a matter of minutes, but I don't listen to a lot of what my daughters listen to, which is a lot of pretty much hardcore rap stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like
something else.
I don't really understand that. There's some stuff I like, but it's not really it's not exactly what they're listening to. I don't even know if I know the title of that type of genre. I mean, I like some stuff by T-Pain and Flo Rida and stuff like that. Yep, no problem. But they're going way into this other realm of hip-hop that's like, I tell them, look, your dad he's a heavy metal guy. Leave me alone. Don't come at me with that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool to know that you're also into Thin Lizzy though, because I love Thin Lizzy too. Such a classic band.
Yeah, that's right. They got a new. I don't know what's the name of their. They basically got a new band out there right now.
Oh yeah, Black Star Riders.
Yeah, Black Star Rising. Yeah. So I'm been checking that out. I like that a lot. Yeah, anything's fair game at any time. I constantly am. Like I said, I'm at the computer so much, which is horrible. But at least I have YouTube going, and I'm exploring and trying to learn something.
Yeah, and it's also a good outlet for actually older bands that were never very successful or as well known. I think too, because it seems like certain bands. In fact, I was actually I did an interview with James Rivera from Hellstar, and we were kind of talking. It's interesting how really the internet has allowed some of those bands to get a whole new following just because now it's easier to discover them.
That's right.
So I think that's kind of cool too.
Absolutely, it's there. You can just pull up anybody you feel like, type them in. And go. And that's what I really enjoy doing.